Holy macaroni, Bertsky. What episode are we on right now? 8? Gotta be 8. 8, great. Yaddy do. This is awesome. Finally, Bertsky, we're together.
Now we don't have to talk over each other.
No. Now our editing department can fix this, can be happy with this. What do you reckon?
So I guess without further ado, I'm going to introduce maybe one of my favorite teammates of all time. Maybe the most colorful character, not only because he would come to the rink with 3 ties, orange Crocs, and a toothbrush in the front pocket. Overall fan favorite, legend of the game, Matt Puntureri. What's happening, Punts?
Hey, how's it going, boys? Thanks for having me. Joey, nice to meet you. Bert, Real pleasure catching up. It's been a while. Awesome to be here, fellas. Look forward to it.
So you came down for the 2013 season, in which Ice Dogs, All Cup champions, not a big deal. How'd you wind up down here? Like, what was the road to Australia?
A buddy of mine, Casey Mignon, was there the year before. I had played with Casey in Brooklyn, and heard that he was in Australia. I thought that was one of the coolest things I've ever heard. So through him, I got a hold of Ronnie via Facebook, and they got my pretty face down there. It was a great decision.
It was a no-brainer. I was living with Case because I played college hockey with him the year before, and he was living up in Terrigal with me. I completely forgot that. Small world, right?
He's a great kid, right? I mean, it's only 8 years ago. It seems like forever. And college with him would have been what? When did you graduate? 2009,
2009. Yeah, and he transferred after his sophomore year, I think. Too.
Yeah, he was such a good kid, man. Real laid back, soft spoken, but a blast to be around. He loved the party. He would have some fun. I think he's doing some coaching now.
He's taking over. I think he's a GM or
doing pretty well.
Yeah, he's doing really well.
Bunty, let's kick it off. Early days. You grew up playing a bit of high school hockey in OPA, Pennsylvania, for the people who don't know it. Just crushing it, 5 points per game. But jumping into transition, going to the O, playing for Guelph Storm in the OHL. That's a big step. That's a big step from a kid from Pennsylvania going over there. How did the transition go, and how did that come about?
No question. It was kind of interesting because I had no idea what the OHL was until I went to a tournament, prospects tournament, just with the team, and did really well the first one. Got invited back to the second one. Had another great tournament where I had 14, 15 points in four games in both tournaments, and our teams did well. Just had agents all over me, and all of a sudden I'm a first-round draft pick. I was a big kid. I was like 5'10", 200, basically the same size I am now. And, it was completely much more than I could have expected physically and mentally grueling. I had never been really tested at that young age. So it was a huge step. It was certainly a tough adjustment both on and off the ice. I mean, even just going to school in a different country, different school. I mean, obviously I wasn't very shy there, but it's still it's a much different curriculum. They're teaching all types of different things. I mean, you can get a 50 up there and pass. So it's a completely different ball game.
I know.
But
that's it. They Guelph's a great spot. Did they have that new barn when you were there, or were you guys in the older one?
They did. Yeah, we were actually going to get the host Memorial Cup that year, my first year, because they just built it, I think, in 2099, something like that.
Around there.
Was Brett there? I know you told me you were cousins with Brett. Was he there that year or the year before?
Cousin, yeah. I forget what years he was.
He might have been there for training camp. He might have got traded for someone that year. And was only there for a couple weeks or a month or so. But
yeah, Trudy was there.
He had a pretty good career too. He ended up being the captain of Washoe, which we were terrible, but he was a good captain and quality player.
Yeah, I had a bunch of buddies that played in around that whole era. My other cousin Ryan Wilson was playing for Toronto St. Michael's Majors around that time, and then a bunch of buddies because I'm from Windsor, just outside Windsor, so I had a bunch of buddies playing for the Spits around that era too. So,
nice. Yeah, it's a great town.
The old home skis.
So, Punsy, one of the things when I first met you, you said multiple times, I win championships, baby. I win championships, baby. We just kind of willed ourselves to it. And you've been on some good teams. Any particular championship team that really stands out in your mind?
No question. I mean, the top two was Australia and Germany, which was like 3 years ago. Obviously, anytime you win a championship, it's kind of a cool thing because the team becomes there's an immediate bond for the rest of your lives. Like that moment happened, and no one could ever take it away from you. It's a really really special thing. But I think the key to any championship is definitely coming together as a family. I think our team did a great job of that in 2013, and definitely in 2000, it would have been 17, I think. In Germany, we had a very special thing going, and but everyone's different in its own way, and everyone's an awesome experience. Very very blessed to have been on so many great teams, because without having that around you, it's no one player has ever won a championship in a team sport on his own. So
that
it's lucky.
2013 team, we just rode so much confidence. Like between you, Symes, and Kimmer on the back end. Granted, we had a whole lot of depth, but like we're down 2 goals going into the third period. We know we're going to win that game, no matter what. And we did, right?
And tremendous leadership too. I mean, you had guys like Patty Ward and Kimmer, even though he was young, was just a wall back there, and that's important too. You need a goalie for hockey to be the best goalie on the ice in each and every game. Especially in our situation, it was a best of one. It was a semifinal and a final. So you have one off game, maybe even one off period, maybe one off shift. And that could cost everything you did in the previous 3 months. So
what was it like
we came to play. What's that, buddy?
What was it like living with Kimmer?
Kimmer was fantastic. We had a blast. A really cool kid. I can't remember if he was doing. I think he was doing an online study thing. We worked together quite a bit. We kind of kept our own thing. I was hanging out with Ronnie. We watched a lot of playoffs together. Obviously, Ronnie's. He was down the street, but I had a different job for a couple weeks too. And I was only there for 3 months, and it flew by so fast. It was 6 months. I was in there for 6 months, but it flew by, dude. It felt like I just got there. I should have just stayed. It would have been the best move. But no, Kimmer's a great kid. Obviously still doing well hockey wise, and I think he ended up graduating college, right?
I believe so.
But was he going back and forth at the time? Was he back in Canada?
He was in Canada at the time.
Junior, yeah. What's Punty? You play with a bit of an edge. You got an edge to you, but you also obviously clears on your points. You can bury the puck. You can get some points. Is toughness something you've always had in your bag of tricks, in your bag to play, or is it something you developed, something that you needed to establish yourself? Or
honestly, I was physical in high school, and maybe in some really really lower leagues where I was physically dominant, but I kind of anticipated that I'd be playing until my late 30s, early 40s. So I wanted to be as soft as possible until playoff time or until some real meaningful games. So I tried to stay away, because injuries happen too. Freak injuries, you could try to hit someone and just accidentally go shoulder first on the boards or anything. So I try to that happened to you, Bert. I wasn't aware. Sorry I brought up that bad memory, but so I try to keep the physical game out as much these days, especially the older I get. But certainly in big games, you got to take the player away from the puck, whether he got rid of it or not. Slow him down. The checking's it's a big part of the game.
But at the same time, you just have a contagious smile, a contagious personality. It's like every face-off you line up against, you have whoever on the other team laughing about something. Whether it is, I just think that your positivity is so contagious, right? Which ultimately makes you a fan favorite.
Well, I appreciate that, brother. And it's part mental too, because there's no doubt that I'm in the back of my head, I'm taking them off their game a little bit by having friendly conversations, because you want to win, and at the end of the day, it's a lot funner to win than it is to lose. Your night's can be better when you get to 2 points or 3 points. But we're playing a game, and life's good. You're around people you love, and fans are coming to see you play. And some of the fans I've met throughout the years are lifelong friends, people I talk to on Facebook, once every couple months. So it's pretty wild the way it all works out. But I appreciate the compliments.
So give us an overview of where your career's gone since Australia.
Downhill. If you could think of like the French Alps and like a car going off the edge. That's pretty much where. No, I mean I've been in much lower leagues, but beautiful places and really lucked out playing with some amazing guys. I was in Sun Valley, Idaho, which actually another wild connection. Paul Baranzelli, met him in Sydney. He found out I didn't have a team a couple years later. Said, call this guy. I called him. Sure enough, me and 4 other guys are going there and playing for a year. You know, I went there 2 years. Then I was in Germany, which was a really small town. Like, it was kind of reminded me of home because it was 45 minutes north of Munich, and it was like a country farm town, you know. So it reminded me a lot of here. And was there for 2 years. Then I went to Turkey with Dunny. And last year I went back to Sun Valley. You know, I haven't really tried to find better hockey opportunities, and you know, 2 or 3 of the years I was in some really bad shape. So I didn't want to show up to camp and embarrass myself. I think since 2012 I've been 45 pounds overweight at the beginning of hockey season. So I got to get that figured out. You think you would after this much time, you know?
Still wheeling and dealing though. You gotta drink that water. It's the first step.
Yeah.
Their jug.
What's so what are you doing in Istanbul University?
We just lived there. Yeah, I didn't go to school. That was just the name of the team, you know. And I don't think they have a team anymore, unfortunately. But it was amazing because all the meals were at the school. We're hanging out with college kids all day. I mean, literally just walking around. They had the gym. We would do that for a couple hours and reading. I was reading in this place. It was contagious. The
Really
school was there. I mean, this was something else. But no, it was awesome, and that's the best food I've had along the journey. Was definitely the Middle Eastern. Even at the school cafeteria, it blew you away.
So what are you doing now?
I've been landscaping the last few summers. My 2 brothers and I are part of a company during the summers. I usually live at my brother's house. He has the 3 little kids. He's got Camden, Vincent, and Sydney. So it's great to spend time with them. My home is right down across the street, and you know, so I get to see the fam all the time. It's cool. You know, other than I've just been working hard and getting in shape this year, switching up, trying something new.
So, any idea where you're gonna wind up in the fall? Maybe.
I don't. You know, I'm really hoping for Sweden or Holland would be awesome situations, but I'd say the leaders right now are probably Turkey or Germany. You know, due to, and some of it I think is because of the virus, but you know, I actually have been getting some agents to do some dirty work for me. I've sent out a bunch of messages and stuff, but you know, 35 is an old age, and when you play in those lower leagues for that long, it's tough to even find a tryout. So hopefully we'll find something, because I'll certainly be ready to go, and we'll see how it all works out. It will happen for a reason either way, right?
Just tell them I win championships, baby.
Hey,
That's a subject. That's in the subject of the email. I win
7 championships, 6 different teams. You know, no big deal.
You know, Punty, you went viral before viral was a thing. If you don't mind me asking, the hidden beer trick. Fans watching, if you haven't watched it, Google Matt Puntureri.
No, we posted it.
Oh, we posted it?
Yeah, we put it yesterday as a teaser.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Punty, walk us through how that whole thing developed, please. Because
I mean, there's a lot behind it. I mean, it and Sydney was kind of grouped up right in the middle of it. It's a long story. So basically, 2012, a year after I played in the Federal League, I had moved up. And what they do is they make you sign a PTO, which means you can't go to any other FHL team. So you have to come back to that FHL team. So long story short, well, kind of short, but I go to Pensacola. This is one of the years I was like 30 pounds overweight, 40 pounds overweight for camp. Somehow make the team, but I had my girlfriend with me this year, and she had 2 cats, and the coach and I had not discussed there being 2 cats, which weren't allowed in the house. So I ended up having to make a choice between staying or going, and we ended up leaving because I brought the girl down there. I felt like I was responsible to take care of her, and there was no one that could watch the cats. So that was the only time I've had too much pussy in my life. And the next step was, unfortunately, back to the FHL, and this coach was kind of holding me hostage and not letting me back into the league. And I was sending emails to the commissioner here and there and, saying, look, this is ridiculous. I'm one of the better players in the league. There's no reason that I shouldn't be playing in the league. And eventually after about 45, 60 days, they let me back in. So that was strike one. And then I went to Sydney at the end of that year. And the following year, they made a rule because the SPHL was stealing some of their players, where if you played in the SPHL and got released, that you couldn't, go back to the Federal Hockey League for 60 or 75 days. It was something like that. So it was basically 2 months or 2.5 months. And so 4 games into the season, I get kicked out of the SPHL for, this is a good one. You guys, you might have seen this one, Bert, because it was right after I played with you, where I put out, ha 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 ha, I'm smoking weed out of an apple right now. What are you doing? Yeah. So I go, that was me. so I got kicked off that team, and sure enough, there I am looking at the FHL again. And they had this goofy league because it's considered a prospect league, and it only makes sense for your players to try to move up to the next level. But once they did and they got cut, they were basically league suspended for a couple months. So eventually they let me back in the league, and the third strike came, which all led to the process of me thinking of an idea to get the league back, basically. But so they hired me as a head coach in January, and I call them. I say, hey, I'm coming in on Wednesday. I'll let you know when I leave. And I didn't get a call back from the owner, Barry Soskin. So I call him again. I called him 2 or 3 times, and I didn't hear anything back for a couple of days. So I just didn't go. And they hired some other coach.
This is in Danville?
This is in Danville, yeah, where it all happened. And then I think a week or 2 later, I was on the team. So, and the team actually ended up having 2 head coaches because one of the kids on the team, Joe Pace, his dad came in, and it was incredible. The one coach was Mike Kellemeyer, and he would be trying to coach. And he was like, chip the support, all right, chip the support. And we would have bets how many times he would say all right in between the intermissions, and they were always 8 or 9 or higher. It was incredible. And then the other guy would come back, and he was like an Italian mob guy, just saying, don't listen to this idiot. And he'd be giving his own coaching display. So that kind of led up to this situation. And Jesse and I had played in Brooklyn together, and he was one of the guys that came to Sun Valley the year after this. But Feltz and I met, and I had thought of the thing on the way down. Joe Pace, the son I was telling you about, he actually got traded that day. This was the last game of the season. Danville and Dayton. He got traded to Dayton, so he basically had everything on the bus and just brought his stuff over. I'm pretty sure there's a trade deadline at some point, but they scratched that one. And so he played for the other roster, and we were down, I think, 4-0 with like 10 minutes in the third, and I brought out the warm beer, which I brought from the bus, and brought it out to the bench before the period. And at the 10-minute mark, I just felt like it was the right time. Phelps was out there. And, he was originally supposed to have a beer as well, but their coach had found out about it and, nixed it because they were in the playoffs. Like, he didn't mind him doing the hug thing, but he didn't want him to have a beer because he was worried about the suspension, which we both got suspended for life anyway, I believe.
Suspended for life. So you square, what did you talk to him before the game? And you're like, hey, I got an idea.
Before the game, yeah, that was exactly how it went down. And we were probably kicking a soccer ball around. I would join him for some pregame warm up soccer, and I was just throwing out the idea because I had this idea, and he was always the guy I had in mind to execute the idea with. So I was glad he was up for it. I mean, they got a few options there. I mean, Mignon would have probably been the second option actually.
Oh yeah,
Mignon was out there.
So you square up. You do a little dance, have a little hug. Here's for the boys.
And never thought anything about it. And someone else mentioned this to him, actually. They mentioned it to him. They're like, what if he just punched you in the face? It's like, did you ever think about that? It's like, oh, yeah, never crossed my mind. So that would have been pretty wild. But, the fact that it went viral was certainly not expected. It was basically just meant to be a fuck you to the league, and that was it. I was gone. That was my farewell to the FHL. Thank you. Have a great day. I hope you enjoyed the show. But
Lindsay, I saw
had
it
no
on Australian news.
Yeah.
I had no idea that they had a camera rolling up there. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, and it's a pretty famous arena too. So it made it a lot cooler.
The play-by-play call was pretty good too.
He was amazing, dude. They actually have some pretty good play-by-play in the FHL. That's probably the best skilled position in the FHL is the announcing.
That's wild. So what was the final? What did they come back with? Look, you're done. See ya.
I got a text that night because I was texting the owner and the player. I was like, it was pretty funny. I don't have the text anymore, but my first text is like, "You ready to win a championship next year?" Of course, But his first question was like, "Did you pull a beer out of your socks tonight?" And I was like, "No, it was more from the crotch area." And that was the end of that. I was out of the league.
So, no, it was my pants. It was in the pants. It was warm.
It's a much better hiding spot than the socks.
You should have sewered the coach and be like, you should have sewered the coach to the owner and be like, he's the one who knew. He gave it to me. Be like, I was supposed to be coach.
Well, that was the thing. If no one said anything, no one would have known, because from the camera angle, it's not like it's the NHL camera here. This thing was 150 feet away at best, so they can't see it's a Coors Light. No one knew what it was until it was a big deal.
Yeah. And it looked like it had been recorded from a helicopter too.
Right? It was the Goodyear blimp. They opened up the arena for that game.
Can you remember what the refs said, you guys?
Oh, the ref was laughing. I was like, "Did we get a penalty?" And so Jesse went to the box. I just skated off because, like I said, it was meant to be my farewell. So why would I come back in the game at that point? That was it. That was the big. That was the big. That was the July 4th grand finale right there, baby. That was the whole kit and caboodle.
Punsy, I've had several different cell phones since you left, but this one picture is like one of the first pictures on every phone just because I keep it and it makes my day every time I see it. I think this is our first road trip going to Melbourne. Punsy shows up, orange Crocs, multiple ties, and just a toothbrush in the front pocket. Is that how you always traveled on the road or what?
You got to pack light. It depends on the size of the trip.
Come on, lose your luggage.
Yeah, the toothbrush thing was special for Australia. That hasn't happened anywhere else. That was only for you guys. Maybe in New Zealand once, just to try it out, but I don't think they would have liked it as much. That's not normal. The suit isn't normal. You can't find me in a suit but once or twice a year. So that was a little off the wall, but no, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I can't remember if I had 2 pairs of Crocs that year because I try to have as many pairs as I can fit in the bag is the way to go. That way I can choose to match or not match for any given evening. But the orange Crocs definitely brought a lot of life, a lot of character.
What was? Oh my God.
Should I be asking the questions here?
Sure.
Jeez, oh man, I just can't. Like you're like, Mom, where are my Crocs at? I'm going to Australia tomorrow. I need my Crocs. And
the worst part is, like, I didn't even have any toothpaste. I didn't even need the toothbrush. It's like, could have used my finger. I had nothing.
What was your first, like, how did you feel, like, Australia? Like, you're coming, boom, you rock up. You guys are in Liverpool still. You're like, this is their rink I'm playing in, Oh, by the way. Yeah, so the other day, like last week, I was down in Liverpool. We put the ice in, painted lines and whatnot. And I'd finally gotten into that back change room. I'd never been
closet?
Oh my goodness. I was like, oh, I gotta go take a piss. So I opened the door, I was like, what the hell? I was like, did it have the cage and everything in there still?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Always a change outside.
I was like, oh, because you guys always had the tarp or whatever, like the shower curtain out front. So you had to go around that. And I opened the door, I was like, no.
There's a sheet.
Amazingly, I was at the other arena first, because when I landed, I landed on a Saturday, and we were playing at Sydney. We were playing at the Bears home rink, the old one.
The ones with the 8-foot benches that are so high.
And no glass, dude, no glass. So that was pretty wild. But I'm glad you asked that question because the story of me landing was incredible. Like I've never had this feeling before either, where I got off the plane and as soon as I touched the ground, it literally felt like whoa, I belong here. This place is incredible, you know? And so everything's going great. And Ronnie picks me up, brings me back to the house. You might have to ask Ronnie if we can pass this one. But sure enough, he sits me down. You know, we have a couple beers and he's cooking kangaroo for pregame meal. I landed at like 2:00. We got a game at 7. And it might have been earlier. You know, I might have landed at 12. And the game was at 5 or something. I can't remember when we played. But we're eating kangaroo, and I had about 4 beers before the first game. So it was a pretty wild entrance. And in Australia, I loved our rinks, both rinks in Sydney. I mean, I wouldn't have minded glass, obviously, you know, because you can get injured on something like that. But they were both pretty cool styles.
Well, shout out to Ronnie because he makes everybody feel at home. Ronnie and Melanie.
Right.
From the moment you step down, he's like a father figure. He's the best friend, and he'll do everything for everyone. He's like the most selfless dude.
Agreed completely.
And I kind of had the same thing. I mean, he got me into the league. He was my okay into the league that really started this revival of a career in a sense. You know? So.
What's and the Dogs have a massive following. They got a great
They do.
They got a great crew.
I mean, Australia's hockey following they're doing an awesome job down there. Wonderful job by the commissioner from day one. And, you know, I'm sure, I mean, obviously Nathan Walker's helped a lot with the attractions he's brought to the country and the awareness to the game. But the fans have been following it. So when I was there, the fan support was incredible. Even in Canberra, who wasn't good back then, they still had solid fans, and Adelaide. I mean, everywhere. Perth. It was really, really awesome. You'd never expect it.
Punty, speaking of Canberra, you're a big karaoke guy.
I've been working on some songs.
You go down there and win by 10 goals, whatever it was, and get back. And it was Punty open mic on the bus. Oh my.
Everyone's got to give it a go, right? So Ronnie came up with the idea. I mean, because I had sang without the microphone a couple times, and he knew that. I usually do that on every team, and so he actually brought the machine, which was, I mean, it was a first class event. We had the perfect amount of time. It was like a 3-hour trip, and you know, everyone. Well, not everyone, but there was a good amount of people that tested their luck on the karaoke machine. It was a good performance all around.
What's your go-to song?
I mean, it's ever changing. It used to be Like a Prayer back in the day. Now I'm on Elvis. What's it called? I can't remember the name of the song. I can't help falling in love. That's my new go-to song.
Absolutely nailed it.
Yeah. Bertie's, what was your song?
Sweet Caroline, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why did I even ask?
He's boring.
Yeah, why did I even ask?
Brown-Eyed Girl too. It would definitely be on the list.
Mine's Journey.
There you go.
Don't Stop Believing. Go to. Yeah. I sing it while I'm doing dishes.
Hey, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, Punty, I think we'll kind of wrap this up. But I do think that you should look into doing something like this yourself. I mean, you've made so many connections all over the world. Kind of a good opportunity to catch up with old teammates like this and share.
I appreciate it, buddy. Certainly something I've considered.
Punt time.
Punt time.
Yeah. I love it, boys. You guys are awesome. Keep up the great work.
Nice, Muncie.
Really enjoy seeing you.
Favorite teammates of all time. An absolute electric character, and you brighten up everyone's day. So I appreciate that.
Same to you, brother. One of the best captains I've ever had. Awesome teammate. What a journey we had that year. Maybe we'll get to do it again sometime in the future, even if it's just a beer league tournament. Whatever happens. Look forward to it. Big hello to all our ex-teammates there from the Ice Dogs and the fans. Love ya. Miss ya. Thanks for everything. Rock on, boys. You guys have been a lot of fun.
All right. Love you, Punty.
Punty, thanks.
Love you too, boys.
Take care.
Cheers. Have a good one, Birds.